How you doing, everybody? Listen, I hope you're all well. It's what day is it? It's the 4th. It's the 4th of August 2012, and it's in the early afternoon. And I just wanted to talk about the rules of the game. You know, this whole world, the capitalist order that we operate through the majority of the world, it's a game, and it's run by groups of people. The game is regulated and controlled by groups of people, and the ultimate arbiters for everything that was going on within Western society is controlled by the judiciary. Judges and lawyers at the very top, they control everything. Alright? And so they're one of the main state agencies. The other two main state agencies are the church and the media. The church to control your mind, to set down your moral values when you're a baby, and then the media to continue that mind control as you get older. Okay, and the real ultimate arbiters of all that are then in the background. Should you decide you don't want to play the game, are the judges and the judiciary as a whole. And if you don't want to play the game, you get sent to the pokey Joe. You get taken out of the jail and removed and locked up until you want to play the game again, and then you're let back into the game if you play the game under their rules. And the purpose of the game is to extract as much money and as much power and as much influence and move it up the triangle. And everybody at the bottom of the triangle can play. They can move up the triangle if they want. Yep. But in order to do that, you have to set your personal morality and your personal ethics, and you've got to put them in your back pocket. And then what you do is you can crawl over other people's misfortune and other people's disadvantage and eke your way up. So it's a war of attrition to get up this triangle. But the triangle is there. As I say, there are four main elements in the controlling portion of that triangle. And alongside the state, the judiciary they're the twin elements at the very, very top of it. And the other two just below it are the church and the media. And to give you an example, you never hear this, but I'll tell you just an example. Did you know that when a cabinet gets together in Western societies, certainly here in Ireland, this is how it works, and in the UK, what happens is the cabinet sits down and they discuss whatever they're discussing. And there's a man in the room. There's two men actually. There's a stenographer who takes down what they're saying or records what they're saying, and so they have a record of what has been said. Now sometimes he's told not to do that. He's ordered out of the room. But there's another man in that room, and he has more power than all of the people that sit at the cabinet table. The Prime Minister, the Minister of Finance, everybody. He's more power than all of them. People say to me, what are you fucking talking about? He's not elected. Nobody elected him. He's picked. Normally the Prime Minister of the day picks him. Personally. I want him. And he sits behind him. He just sits behind the Prime Minister, the one side of the table. But he can just, sorry lads, can't go down that route. He's the Attorney General. And he sits in not for all of the cabinet meetings, but for a lot of them. And if he hears or sees anything that he believes that will be anti-constitutional, opposed to the Constitution, or something which is deemed to be by him to be against the law, against the rules of the game, as already laid down, he does, points it out. And what they have to do is that they introduce legislation to change the law or bring about a referendum to change the Constitution. That'll tell you what goes on. And the only reason why I raise that is because big companies have the same thing. They have like a mirror of the way that the state operates. When you know, you have the state and the state apparatus, and it's three agencies. So, excuse me, the companies have almost a mirror reflection of that in the way they operate. They have their own lawyer who sits in when they have a board meeting, like a cabinet meeting. And then they have their own media people, and obviously they're not interested in the church. But some of them are, and some of them give big donations to the church. So, you know, what I'm saying is the way that big multinational companies and large national companies behave is a mirror reflection of the way the state behaves. But it's a mirror reflection of that little thing at the top. That little thing. And that's why you only ever hear me attack. You never hear me attacking footballers or sportsmen or anybody. Only people I ever attack are politicians, churchmen, media people, and judges and lawyers. That's who I attack. Because that's where the power emanates. They set down the moral standards for life. And what brought that to mind was, what brought all this into the thing was, I got into a major row recently. I mean a full-scale row. And my wife had to drag me out of her room. I was in a room with a lot of very professional people. And this is a while back, and we were talking about the referendum, which was going to come up in about a week. This is about a week before the referendum. Maybe even 4 or 5 days before our last referendum on Europe. And as an adjunct to that referendum was a constitutional referendum relating to Ireland to bring about a constitutional change in our constitution, which would force lawyers to take a reduction in, or not lawyers, judges to take a reduction in their wages. Because written in our constitution that there should be a separation between the state and the judiciary. Anyway, the bottom line about it was there was a particular lady there who was very well educated, and I was raising it about how disgraceful it was that the Irish people should have to take these people on. We should have to have a referendum on this issue. And she got very upset and pointed out to me that what these lawyers were, what these justices were doing was not against the law. So this woman comes from a very Republican background. Major Republican, this woman. She's very well educated, as I say. She's a serious professional. Very, very part of the elite. So I had to point out to her that there were things called bad laws. I pointed out several things to her. I said, first of all, there are things called bad laws, and there are loads of them in our statute books. And they have to be, at every time, they have to be challenged and faced down. That's number one. The second thing is I want to point out, and it's not to you directly, but it was to her directly. I said, the men and the women who gave their lives to bring this state about, because the state of Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, did not come about by accident. This came about by design. And great men and great women, young men and young women, gave their lives to bring this about. The state that we live. And every single one of them acted outside the law at that time to bring this state about. And something that people forget who operate at the top level of that little elite group in society, especially in this republic. The sovereignty of this state does not lie with the government. It doesn't lie with the constitution. It doesn't lie with any flag. It lies in the people. The sovereignty and the will of the people. That's where it lies. It doesn't lie with judiciary or lawyers or, as I say, a flag or a national anthem or any of that bullshit. It lies in the will of the people. Anyway, that's what happened. It's a simple little matter. It may lie in the will of the people, but it's constantly usurped and utilised for the advantage of the people at the top of the triangle. Because all the money and all the power has to go up the triangle and stay up there. It must never ever percolate down. It's only one way, one direction. And the people at the top will do everything in their power, anything and everything, to maintain that. And as I've told you lots and lots of times, you don't play by the rules of this game that's in existence. You're taken out of the game and put into pokey. End of story. That's why the people at the top who represent the elite, they're never in the pokey. Anyway, talk more.